Oh, wait a minute, do I have it on? Okay. Okay. It looks like I'm partially off of it, doesn't it?
Oh, you there?
On the chat here, so if I'm doing things, it's because people are sending the chat messages. I can't see, I can't hear, so.
Do I sound loud now? To you all on here, do I sound loud? Okay. Let me turn it down. I got it on like 17. So if it gets too loud, let me know. This group I made through my job, we finally found a place big enough that we could have a meeting in person, Jesus. Me?
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. We now down to the Special Administrative Board of Reorganization Board. We'd like to give a short recapitulation.
The microphone is muted, Dr. Beckwith. No, no, sir, we cannot hear you. Oh, okay. Okay.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Sistrom?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We can hear you. Thank you.
We'll start. Again, it's now time to reorganization of the board. But before we do that, a slight recapitulation. The district was declared unaccredited in 2007. In 2010, the board was lapsed. And in May 2010, Special Administrative Board was appointed, and that was Dr. Trano, Ms. Morrow Real, and I. And the law at that time said that 2 members of the SAB shall live within the district, and 1 shall live outside of the district. and the one living outside of the district shall be appointed chair. And that's how I was appointed chair. But in 2013, Senate Bill 125 as amended was passed that changed the SAB from a 3-member board to a 5-member board. 3 that must live within the district and 2 who did not. The unfortunate thing about that, the SAB was never told by the state that Senate Bill 125 had been amended. So that went along until this year when it was brought to the state's attention, and by a vote of the board on the state board on October 19, the SAB was extended from 3 to 5, and we have those 2 new board members with us tonight, and they will introduce themselves at the appropriate time. The law also said that a reorganization had to take place within 14 days of them being appointed. They were appointed on October 19. We were well within that time limit. I have been chair of the board for 11 years, 5 months. It's been a labor of love to me because I believe in the children of the district and the staff, but everything must come to an end. So said another way, I will not accept a nomination for any office and would just stay on the board as a regular board member. With that, Ms. Shay Fields is going to be the chair of the board election, and I will turn the meeting over to her. Ms. Fields.
Good evening, all. Dr. Beckwith, as current SAB chair, has asked me to chair the election of the officers for the Special Administrative Board as per the Commissioner Van Even's proclamation that was approved by the State Board of Education on October 19, 2021. The proclamation in part stated, the Special Administrative Board shall serve until June 30, 2022, unless extended by or until the Special Administrative Board transitions to a locally elected board or is dissolved by action of the by the State Board of Education prior to that date. I now declare all offices of the Special Administrative Board vacant. And can someone mute, please? I think I'm getting a real bad echo. Okay, nominations are now in order for the office of president. Are there any nominations?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Veronica for president. I'm sorry, Miss Morrow Rio.
Okay.
There's no need for a second.
Yes, there's no need. Okay.
Are there further nominations?
Are there any further nominations?
I'll accept the nomination for myself. To nominate myself for.
You would like to nominate yourself? Okay.
I'm sorry, I was muted. I nominated myself for the presidency.
Okay. All right. So at this time, since we have 2 nominations, we will conduct a paper ballot. Okay. Just give me 1 second.
I would like for you each to nominate the individual that you would like for the board president. And if you will fold that up and give it back to me, I will quickly count up the nominations and we'll go from there.
Okay, for those who are on Zoom, I just
Well,
distributed a paper ballot.
Take them up.
Okay, they're done.
Do one office and then the other.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Shay, we want to announce, we want you to count the votes for
Okay,
that
I
and then
will.
make the announcement.
I will. Okay. Of the ballots, of the paper ballots, we have 4 nominations for Miss Veronica Mora-Real, and we have 1 nomination for Dr. Miranda Avant Elliott.
So declare the winner.
I now declare the winner of the president of the Special Administrative Board as Ms. Veronica Mora-Real.
Congratulations. to you.
Congratulations. Thank you.
Okay. All right, so we will move on now to the second office, which is for the office of Vice President.
I'd like to nominate Reggie Jones.
Are there any nominations? Okay,
Hearing that there are no further nominations, I move that 1 ballot be struck in lieu of the whole for Reggie Jones as Vice President of the SAB. Can I get a second to that motion?
Second.
okay, thank you, Dr. Beckwith.
But you have to move, take the vote on that verbal vote.
Okay, may I have a verbal vote? Ms. Oswald,
Yes.
Dr. Beckwith,
Yes.
Ms. Mario,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
and Dr. May.
Yes.
Yes, okay. All right, we declared that Mr. Reggie Jones is the official Vice President of the Special Administrative Board.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, bear with me. We will now move to the office of Secretary for the Special Administrative Board. Are there any nominations?
I will like to nominate Dr. Avant Elliott, Secretary, for the position of Secretary of the SAB.
Okay. Are there any other nominations? Okay, I will recommend that 1 ballot be cast in lieu of a whole for Dr. Miranda Avant Elliott as the Secretary for the Special Administrative Board. Now
Motion.
we'll take a roll call vote.
Yes, you can do that.
Okay, Ms. Oswald,
Yes.
Dr. Beckwith,
Yes.
Ms. Moore-Real,
Yes.
Mr. Jones,
Yes.
and Dr. May.
Myself. Yes.
Okay, all right, so, all right, I will now announce that Dr. Miranda Avant Elliott is the new secretary for the Special Administrative Board. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And now we can move on to the office of treasurer. Are there any nominations? for
I'd
the
like to
office of treasurer?
I'd like to nominate Mary Oswald.
Are there any other nominations? Okay.
Madam
So-
Chair, I move that 1 ballot be cast in lieu of the whole for Mary Oswald as Treasurer of the SAB.
Myself.
Okay. All in favor, or would we like to take a vote?
No. All in favor?
All in favor? No
Yay.
opposition? Yay? Okay. All right, I will declare now that Miss Mary Oswald is the treasurer of the Special Administrative Board. Congratulations. All right, all offices have been elected, and that concludes my responsibility.
All right. Well done. Well
First
done.
time.
Well done. I now turn the meeting over to President Veronica Mora-Real. You may take the next agenda item of Riverview Excellence.
Thank you, everybody, and I hope I don't let you down. Okay, so the next item on the agenda is item number 4, Riverview Gardens Excellence. Oh.
The next item on the agenda, item 4, is Riverview Excellence. I believe Mrs. Sickstrom is in charge of that.
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Morrill. Pull up my screen here. So today for Riverview Excellence, we have several people that are getting recognized. Let's see, background information. We're honoring Precious Berry, a student at Riverview Gardens High School, Arissa Ford, a student at Riverview Gardens High School, Naomi Nerdless, a math instructor at Westview Middle School, and Mrs. Tracy Nave, principal of Riverview Gardens High School, as well as all breast cancer survivors and those impacted by breast cancer in the RGSD family and community. Under justification, Precious Berry and Arissa Ford of Riverview Gardens High School were featured at the Little Bit Foundation's Join the Journey Gala on Friday, October 15th. Ms. Ford kicked off the gala by opening the event with a song, and she did an amazing job, as reported by everyone who was there. Ms. Berry was featured in a video during the gala where she talked about the Little Bit Foundation's program and its partnership with Riverview Gardens School District. Both Ms. Berry and Ms. Ford are shining examples of Riverview excellence. Next, Naomi Nerdlist of Westview Middle School was selected by Teach for America as one of 15 participants to receive training as a school leader. She will be able to participate in monthly cohort meetings during the school year, 4 days of professional development and career discussions. Ms. Nerdless is also invited to pursue a master's in education leadership to earn her principal certification through St. Louis University, according to Teach for America. And lastly, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. According to the National Breast Cancer Foundation, 1 in 8 women in the United States will develop breast cancer in her lifetime. In 2021, it is expected that well over 300,000 women will be diagnosed with breast cancer, and more than 42,000 women will die from it, unfortunately. Riverview Gardens High School principal, Tracy Nave, is a breast cancer survivor. Her battle with the disease has been very public, and through her amazing strength and resiliency, she has become a hero to her colleagues, students, and community. In honor of Breast Cancer Awareness Month, we would like to recognize Mrs. Nave and all other RGSD faculty, staff, and community members who have been impacted by breast cancer. We thank you for your dedication and commitment to educating our scholars in the face of such a challenging battle. And I do also, before we wind up, I put something together for Mrs. Nave. I did get her permission in order to recognize her for this. So I have a video. So let me change my shared screen if you will bear with me for a moment.
Ishmael, you should not have gotten her permission. You just should have done it to celebrate Miss Nave. No permission necessary.
That Dr. Beckwith will tell you that is not
Oh.
Right. Just being legal. Just being legal.
No HIPAA checks here.
Okay,
Right.
got it. All right.
I'm going to share this back. Share my sound. Can you hear the audio?
No.
Okay. There we go.
It has definitely been one for the record books.
Tracy Nave, what can I not say about her? In a nutshell, she is a trailblazer for our high school in administration.
Everyone loves Miss Nave. When I tell you everyone loves Miss Nave, it's just the energy that she brings into the room that brightens a lot of people's faces and smiles. So we were like, we got to do something for Miss Nave as a volleyball team, just to, you know, acknowledge her and appreciate her for everything she has done for not just us, but for the school in general.
She's always there. Every game, she's there to support. Every function, she is basically the backbone of Riverview Gardens High School. Ms. Nave is the type of principal, she's a hands-on principal. So if she doesn't see that you're going on the right path, she will help you, like, what can I do?
We did talk every day. I still called her every day. I briefed her every day on what was going on, because even though she was going through her own very real, very scary experiences, she still cared about what was happening here on campus with the teachers, with the students, with the
I was
family.
just heartbroken because I have a grandmother that, had breast cancer, and luckily she's a survivor, and just the pain that these people go through.
She still wanted to make sure that we were taken care of, and so it was very impressive. I have not met too many people who were able to, again, to just buckle down and push through this experience and come out on the other end, I think, stronger. It gave our staff during that time that the courage that they needed to push forward. So from her still sending text messages when she wasn't supposed to, and responding to emails and sneaking, and I'm gonna have to say sneak because you'd be like, okay, you can't do this, you're not supposed to do that, and then we'll hear something, oh, it's your principal name called, or principal name emailed, or she sent the text message to say, good morning, how are you doing? I heard something was going on with you and your family.
The initiative to email her and was just sending my my hopes and wishing her well with everything that was going on, and I was just telling her that I love her so much. And Ms. Nave definitely responded the morning of. I was like, she's supposed to be resting. I hope she's not just checking her emails just like that.
She just kept moving, and many of our conversations just included that you cannot bother what is covered already and what blessings are in store. So it is an inspiration to me to say that there is nothing that can't be done, and we do not lay down when we're presented with certain challenges. We keep going, we overcome them, and get to the other side.
I have never worked with a leader whom I have admired, and that I like to stand back and just observe how they move, how they tactfully do things, and how they engage with people. Again, even in some of the darkest of times, we are here for a greater purpose. And I just have to say thank her so much for that, because I learned a lot from her, even during this time that she would just never know, that I truly cannot put into words.
My family has been in this school district for a decade, and since I'm the last one, I want her to know how much she has done for my family, and as well as the women inside of Riverview Gardens. She has inspired us to work harder and do much better than we have done.
Happy Breast Cancer Awareness Month, Mrs. Nave. We all love you deeply.
Wonderful.
Beautiful, totally beautiful, totally beautiful.
Excellent.
Totally beautiful. I'm kind of getting a little choked up because I've known Miss Nave for quite a few years. And Miss Nave, I am so glad that you are still with us.
Amen.
And I want to recognize the other individuals for their honest congratulations to them as well.
Just impressed. May I say a word?
Yes.
Ms. Nave, just outstanding. Your battle, you've overcome it. We love you. And all that you do for the Riverview Gardens School District, and especially Riverview Gardens High School. Stay strong.
Thank you all so much. I appreciate you. I did not expect that when he said he was going to do something. But thank you all so much. I am Riverview through and through. I love my scholars. I love my teachers. I love this district. And as the principals said on their shirts to me the other day, in this district, we fight together. And I'm so thankful for you all throughout this journey, for how you have supported me and made sure that I got through this battle and I didn't get through it alone. Thank you. And I also want to tell everyone, please schedule your mammogram. I had gone 2 years without getting a mammogram. After my mother passed away, I just didn't really care about it anymore. But I went and got my mammogram on Central Office parking lot. So thank you, Riverview Gardens School District, for providing the mammogram vans each year, because that van at Central Office saved my life. So thank you. I appreciate you all. And I thank you. I love you all.
Love you too, Mrs. Nave.
Right.
And that's it for my Riverview Excellence.
I want to find out if any of our board members have announcements.
I would like each board member, new board member, to tell the audience about yourself.
Okay.
I'm trying to position so you can see my mouth a little bit. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Yvonne Elliott. I am an educator, public educator of over 17 years here in Missouri. I have served in multiple capacities. I am honored to be in this role, and I am looking forward to whatever changes I can make in the positions that I have, whether it's the secretary role or just the general board member role. And I'm excited for the future of Riverview, and I'm looking forward to being a part of the celebration when full accreditation happens for the district.
Excellent.
Hello. My name is Mayor Reggie Jones, Mayor of the great city of Dalewood, Missouri. Not a stranger to this district. I've had the privilege, well, let me back up. I've been a club director for Boys and Girls Club of Greater St. Louis for 25 years. I've also been serving as mayor of Dalewood for the past 8 years, and I serve on several boards. But more importantly, I've had the privilege of bringing 4 kids through this district. And when I look at the people on this call, I look at Ms. Curtis, Ms. Bland, Dr. Nichols, and last but not least, Dr. Dave. Well, these individuals did so much for my kids who've come to this district. And I'm just such a pleasure. If you don't know, I was elected to the board actually April 2010, only served 2 months because SAB came in 2 months later. So this is a full circle for me. And something I've always wanted to do is give back to this district who did so much for my kids. So I'm glad to be here.
Great.
Thank you. Any other announcements?
I have none.
I have none.
Ms. Fields, do we have any patrons that wanted to address the board?
No, ma'am, I do not.
Okay. So now we'll go into items for information, and I believe first up would be Prop R update.
The Prop R update.
All right.
Thank you.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, President Mrs. Morrow Real, Vice President Mayor Reggie Jones, Secretary Dr. Yvonne Elliott, Treasurer Mrs. Mary Oswald, and Dr. Beckwith, colleagues and community. Tonight I will give informational update on the Prop R. As you know, Prop R was passed in the school district, I believe in 2018. Prop R has afforded us the opportunity to do a number of capital improvement projects in the school district. So far, we have 29 projects that have been approved by the board. 24 of those projects have been completed. Ms. Fields, just briefly for the new board members, some of these projects include the Highland rooftop units. We did some abatement at Danforth. Also, the flooring at Highland, as well as some abatement and storage cabinets in the high school choir and band room. Next slide is parking lot renovations to the high school and both middle schools. We also upgraded some district-wide telephone systems, and we had to do some work on the water line at Danforth. These are all completed projects. Our fire alarm upgrades for phase 1, our district wireless upgrade, as well as our high school roof on building 2, the facilities dockage, and also we had to put a roof on building 9 at the high school. The rooftop unit, RTU replacement phase 1 district-wide. We also got new playgrounds at several of our elementary schools. Danforth, we had to do some parking lot repairs. And also at central office, there were some electrical upgrades that we completed as well. We had some drainage issues going on at our facilities location, and we took care of those. Our district-wide building access upgrades were completed as well. We had some emergency repairs over at Westview in the library. We had some interactive boards, so we did some things with technology, and also our RTU, our rooftop unit replacements phase 2
district-wide as well. We have about 5 projects that are currently active. We are working, earlier this year, we started our district-wide HVAC controls. We're about 95% complete. And the budget is there, $759,000. And we're hoping to get that completed here very soon. We're coming up to the very end of the HVAC controls. Also, our school-based healthcare center, which we know is extremely important, especially in this day and age of COVID. We're about 20% complete there. And we've got a $468,000 budget that we're going to invest in the school-based healthcare center. Another active project we're working on, some rooftop issues over at the Masters. We started this past summer. We're about 90% complete. $281,000. We have a 100% WBE. That is the women or business enterprise. So we've got some women-owned businesses and minority participation as well. Also, the rooftop repairs at Central Middle, we started about 90% complete as well. About $444,000 we've spent there as well. And the last active project I mentioned, there are 5 active, are the district-wide security camera upgrades. We started those just a couple months ago. We're in the initial phases. We've got a budget of about $265,000, and we are going to invest in security cameras throughout the entire school district to bring ourselves to a state-of-the-art system. So those are the active projects that we currently have. These are our published categories. Again, when we ran Prop R, we ran on the promise of investing in safety and security, curbside and exterior technology. Again, all of the information is there. The green shows what we've completed. The yellow shows the upcoming. And again, we talked about maybe some classroom and restroom renovations. And then the orange represents the things that have been completed as well. So completed and upcoming for the categories. Again, as a summary of what I reviewed here today, we've got 29 projects that have been board approved. 24 of these projects have been completed and 5 are ongoing. Our MBE, our minority participation, is about 34%. Our WBE to date is about 8% as well. Just a little bit on the financial side. Shay, will you open the other attachment so the SAB has an idea of what's remaining in the Prop R budget? So we roughly have about $250,000 remaining, okay? And that is because we have on our construction costs, these are some of the projects we mentioned, the HVAC, so you can see the original budgets and what's remaining in each of those categories. So right now on the construction costs, we spent about $1.5 billion more than anticipated because we did not anticipate some of the additional roofing problems that we've had and we've had to address. Down at the bottom, I believe you will see the soft costs. We're ahead to the tune of about $1.8 million. So in the far right column, you see the $1,799,000. The two of those numbers net out to a positive $250,000. So I am very proud to say that Prop R was a promise made and Prop R was a promise kept because we are just about complete with all of the projects that we promised our constituents that we would do. And as Mrs. Green often mentions and says, and Dr. Beckwith echoes, we have had no change orders throughout the entire process. And that simply means that we put some good specifications in place. We were very clear on what we were wanting. And so that gives the summary, or that completes my report today for Proposition R. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Dr. Beckwith?
It's not a question, it's just a compliment. I think our minority participation WBE goal was 25%. And I talked to Ms. Green early on about that we need to meet that goal. And she said, Dr. Beck, you don't have to worry. And as you see, it came out to be 34%. I'm also president of the St. Louis County Library District. Our minority goal was 15%. And they had an awful time trying to get the 15%. In fact, did not get it. So I just laud Dr. Singleton and Ms. Green for not only hitting our goals, but going above our goals.
Thank you, Dr. Beckwith.
So then we'll move on to Riverview Garden Travel Report.
Good evening.
Go on to our RGSB. Thank you. Travel report.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Good evening. To the Special Administrative Board, Dr. Beckwith, Mrs. Marreal, Mrs. Oswald, to our newest board members, the Honorable Reggie Jones, and certainly Dr. Miranda Avant Elliott. Welcome. Tonight, I am pleased to present the travel report for the month of October 2021. This report is provided for information. The report contains all professional development that has been approved it contains all professional development that has been approved. And it includes the name of the employee requesting the travel, the school or department of the employee, the name of the conference or activity, dates connected to this travel, city and state, projected costs of this travel, and the funding source for this travel. You will note that at the end of each page, I have identified the total for the page. And on the second page, you have a grand total. I have also provided an abbreviated reference for the titles so that becomes apparent for all those viewing this report. The cost factors are estimated and they vary based on the timing when registration for the conferences, for the events occur. At this point, I'll take any questions that you may have.
Does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Sharp.
You're welcome.
Summer school evaluation.
Okay, good evening, Special Administrative Board, colleagues and community. I am Mrs. Mott, and I was responsible for facilitating the 2021 summer school programs alongside Dr. Lynette White, who is now retired. Next slide, please. Due to COVID, changes were made to the 2021 summer school program to serve more students. First, we added middle school and high school to launch the virtual learning program, which had previously only included elementary students. Second, we had only enrolled 3rd and 4th grade students into the Jumpstart program who qualified under Senate Bill 319. In contrast to this year, in which we expanded enrollment for Jumpstart to include K through 2, making this the first year to include kindergarten into our summer programs. Finally, to further expand our enrollment, we added universal supports to have in conjunction with the Jumpstart program. The curriculum we used for both programs were research-based and aligned to the Missouri Learning Standards. For math, we used Math Teachers Press, Moving with Math, and for reading, we used Voyager Sopris Learning. Additionally, we were fortunate enough to have the Little Bit Foundation. I'm still on slide 2, by the way. Additionally, we were fortunate enough to have the Little Bit Foundation provide us 9 volunteers to facilitate daily 30-minute STEM lessons, which were hands-on, inquiry-based, and the students loved it. The Little Bit Foundation also provided us with 8 volunteer tutors to provide push-in one-on-one and small group instruction and intervention for students who needed additional support. And then finally, due to our partnership with Reverend Tommy Pearson and Diane Tapman, Bookmobile was provided to the students and their parents once a week at the school, in which they were able to pick out books to keep, and they even provided resources for parents. Next slide, please. And then Launch was our third program. Launch was our virtual learning program that provided 6 hours of daily direct instruction and feedback in ELA and math to our elementary, middle, and high school students. Launch provided the teachers and the research-based curriculum that was aligned to the Missouri Learning Standards. Next slide, please. This slide breaks down the enrollment and participation for all three programs. 296 students enrolled in Jumpstart and Universal Supports. 182 students participated altogether. 88 students participated in Jumpstart, 94 students participated in Universal Supports, and 69 students enrolled and participated in Launch. Next slide, please. This slide shows the reading levels for the kindergarten students at the beginning of the summer session and at the end. Our goal for all kindergarten students is for them to be able to read at a level D by the end of the year. 94% of students upon entering the program began at a pre-A or level A, which means they lacked letter ID, letter sound knowledge, cap skills, and sight word knowledge. Next slide, please. This slide breaks down the 3 focus areas for math in kindergarten and the pre and post test data points for all 3 areas. The focus areas were based on the Missouri Learning Standards. As you can see, some growth was made in all 3 areas. Next slide, please. This slide describes the ELA pre and post proficiency results for 1st through 5th grade. The research-based curriculum, Voyager Sopris, provided the pre and post tests, which were aligned to the Missouri Learning Standards for each grade level. 1st and 2nd grade measured proficiency on vocabulary, word analysis, and comprehension. 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade measured proficiency in vocabulary and comprehension, but using a graph and reading passages. Although small, every grade level did show some improvement. Next slide, please. This slide, well, first I noticed that this slide has a typo. Okay, the 5th grade post-test percentage should have been 15%. So I can update this slide and resend it to you ASAP. So this slide described the math pre and post proficiency results for 1st through 5th grade. The research-based curriculum, Moving with Math, provided the pre and post tests, which were aligned to the Missouri Learning Standards. 1st through 5th grade all measured proficiency on number sense, operations in base 10, relationships and algebraic thinking, geometry, measurement, data, and statistics. Additionally, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade also measured operations and fractions. For intervention, we did utilize the 2 TAs and 8 push-in tutors provided by the Little Bit Foundation to provide one-on-one and small group differentiated instruction to the students who needed additional support, and it was push-in tutoring. Going forward, my recommendations across the district would be to continue providing more resources for teachers to facilitate effective daily small group guided math instruction to ensure growth for every student regardless of where they are. Next slide, please. These are the proficiency results provided to us by Dr. Nicole Lemon, the Director of Virtual Learning at Launch. According to Dr. Lemon, the proficiency levels were based on time in the program and their reading or math level upon completion. Next slide, please. Finally, our challenges and next steps. The biggest challenge was trying to close a very large learning gap due to COVID in such a short period of time, namely 14 days. Next steps to improve teacher preparation would be to provide teachers 2 days instead of 1 to familiarize themselves with the new curriculum, receive professional development on the curriculum, and set up their classrooms so they can hit the ground running. Another improvement would be if we could have the transportation letters sent to parents at least 2 weeks prior to the start of summer school. Thank you. That completes my presentation. Are there any questions?
Anyone have any questions for her? Okay.
I noticed that you had the focus areas for the preschool or kindergarten, and I was just wondering why you didn't have a breakdown for the math and ELA to specifically indicate the areas of growth or the areas of deficiency. Is there a report that will show those that type of data?
I don't have that right here, but I can get that for you because the data was provided to me that way broke down. So I can definitely do that and get it back to you ASAP. I'll send it in an email.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes, Ms. Mott, I particularly like your report in showing where they came in, and at the end, the pre and post. Sometimes when we get reports, they speak to the goals, but they don't tell us whether the goal was met or not. So my compliments to you for showing us the pre and post, and also for making recommendations for improvement at the end.
But are you done, Dr. Beck? But you had some questions, Ms. Oswald?
Yes. For fifth graders, you have pre-test and post-test are both 0%. Do you have an idea why that is so?
I'm not sure if you didn't hear at the beginning when I was talking about slide 8, I had noticed that I had a typo on that slide, and the post-test was supposed to be 15%.
Okay.
So that was a typo. That was a mistake on my part, and I will revise it and I will resend the corrected slide.
Thank you. I also, what was attendance like?
Let's see. That was on slide 4. For launch, attendance was 100% and it was virtual. But for Jumpstart and Universal Supports, I believe that it was, they were considered 100% attendance if they attended at least 3 days that week. So I can get the exact number for you and get it to you. And I can send it in an email if that would be okay.
Thank you.
And the question that I have just one.
I have just one question for you. If there was one thing that you would like to do over or do differently within these programs that took place, what would it be for each program?
Let's see. I think for Jumpstart and Universal Supports, if I could make it longer, I would make it longer, because I feel like we had some really great engaging curriculum, especially the reading curriculum. It was theme-based, based on a country. So all the literature, everything was all connected. It was very engaging. So I wish we would have had more time with the students, longer than 2 weeks. So if we could do that, if we could somehow make it, a full month or a month and a half, I think we could really make great gains. And then also my other thing would be, I would really focus on making sure that each classroom was facilitating small group guided reading and guided math every day, starting at day 1. As soon as they get the assessments going after the first day, that's what I would start doing. Because I think we would get a bigger bang for our buck at the end if we did that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
ELL report and evaluation.
Good evening. I am Heidi Walterman, the ELL teacher for the district. Next slide, please. So far I have 41 students on the roster. Next slide, please. This is our changes for the from last year to this year. This is where our students have moved. So some of the students have graduated from high school, but others have joined from the middle school, and we have newer students that have joined. Last year we had 39 students on the roster. This year 41. Next slide, please. The diversity of languages spoken has gone down a little bit. Over half of our home language ESL students, their home language or first language is Spanish. But we have also some Somali speakers and Swahili, which that's been in our district for a while. Yoruba too. Next slide, please. Sorry. So we use an interpreter service called Language Access Multicultural People, or LAMP. That's kind of a scheduled interpreter service that we use. We also use, especially for some of our new families, we use Google Translate. Most of our new families are well versed in Google Translate and they know how to use it well. So if a family shows up to enroll their student, that's usually our first means of communication is through Google Translate. I believe that is all I have. Do you have any questions for me?
Does anyone have any questions? Dr. Beckwith?
Yes, I think I read in your report where a recommendation was to get the second ELL teacher. Is the problem none are available or what?
I believe so. We've had very few, I think, apply. I mean, I think Dr. Nichols would know more about that than I do. The position has been posted for over a year. So I guess there's just no candidates. I'm not sure. Or if there's a candidate, they don't have that DSL or TESOL certification.
Yep. Dr. Beckwith, this is Dr. Kennedy. I've been monitoring that as well as with Dr. Nichols, and that is the case. It's not just a Riverview Gardens situation. It's a national situation of trying to find qualified and certified ESL teachers.
Thank you.
My question. Okay. You can go ahead.
Currently, how are the students being serviced? Is it a self-contained classroom? Are they getting pulled out? How are they getting serviced as far as LL supports?
Mostly pulled out, yeah. Pull out with me. Yeah, it's basically a pull out program.
Okay.
And one of the things that we're also doing, thanks to Mrs. Ross, we have a lot of most of our challenges come in with our Spanish-speaking students, and at their age level, some of the older students, and they're not speaking any English. And so one of the things that, there's Spanish access to our resources, our curricular resources that have been made available to teachers. And then we're also in the process of, providing professional development to those teachers that also have those students in their classes. And this is more, we have a lot of our Spanish speaking students at the middle school to 9th grade level that who do not speak English on a regular basis. So that's something that we're working very hard to support.
Mr. Kennedy, have you all considered checking with the International Institute to see if there are any type of tutorial programs, maybe that the individuals don't necessarily have to have credentials, but that may be able to help out with the students?
Yeah, absolutely. Dr. Nichols and I were on a call last week, and we're exploring other resources to provide for those students. So we're close to making a decision or a recommendation.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
We go on to E, which is secondary school concerns.
We go on to E, which is secondary school concerns.
I'm sorry.
That's for Ms. Nave.
Ms. Nave, secondary school concerns.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, district leaders, colleagues, and community. My name is Tracy Nave. I'm the principal of Riverview Gardens High School. And this evening, I come before you representing the secondary schools of Riverview Gardens School District to present an item for information concerning the challenges that our campuses have faced in the first quarter of our full return to in-person learning since the pandemic. Tonight, I have along with me Principal Clark of Central Middle School and Principal Lenoir of Westview Middle School. They will come before you individually to present the data from each of their schools, followed by a series of recommendations. The 2021-22 school year began for all of us with a sense of excitement in seeing our hallways filled with scholars once again, but also a sense of nervousness about how we would proceed going forward. We were facing the return to teaching and learning in the throes of a continuing pandemic with seating charts and contact tracing as part of our new norm, with many buildings still short a nurse on staff. We were also facing the reality of teacher shortage in key areas, along with our goals of getting back to the business of educating children and combating any and all learning challenges that distance learning may have created. We knew from the start that we would need to create structures and have procedures in place that would help to acclimate our scholars back to the traditional setting. I remember saying in a principals meeting that we would have to essentially teach our scholars how to perform in every aspect of traditional school, from being on the bus, to walking to class, to asking to use the restroom, and even eating in the cafeteria. Because let's face it, for 18 months, they had us on mute. When I made that statement, I still could not have predicted what we have witnessed over the course of this first quarter. Last Friday, I, along with my assistant principals, teachers, and DSOs on our team, were assaulted by students in the midst of attempting to break up what turned into a student brawl, and our inability to disperse the crowd of students who had gathered. Thus, we need your help. We come to you this evening to speak a bit about what we are all experiencing and what the data reflects. An overview of our concerns for the first quarter include, but are not limited to, increased student discipline, student academic concerns, teacher shortage, and staff and student morale. For the sake of clarity within the data, the high school has 1,126 scholars on our campus, Central Middle School has 749 scholars, and Westview Middle School has 558 scholars. I will begin by providing information for the high school. For the first quarter, the data shows that Riverview Gardens High School has experienced the following disciplinary events: 94 out-of-school suspensions due to physical altercations, and that data is as of yesterday. Of those 94, 48 of them are attributed to freshmen, 35 sophomores, 10 for our juniors, and 1 for our senior class. In addition to those 94 physical altercation suspensions, we've also had 15 verbal altercations. In addition, we've had 3 weapons. All 3 were found at morning bag check and did not go beyond that point. It must be also noted that those 3 weapons were all from brand new students arriving for their first day on our campus. To provide you with a clearer understanding of how these numbers compare to the last year that we were in school, we have a comparison of the data here for September and October of the 1920 school year versus what we are experiencing this year. In 1920, for the month of September, the high school had 14 out-of-school suspensions and 10 for the month of October for physical altercations. For the 21-22 school year, we have far exceeded those numbers with 35 out-of-school suspensions for physical altercations in September and 59 in October. There's still Wednesday and Thursday remaining. Upon returning, we also knew that academics were going to be an area of concern. In reviewing the first quarter academic data, it shows the following. Our 9th grade class currently has a total of 715 failing grades, with 242 freshman scholars having 1 or more failing grades in their classes. Our 10th grade scholars, 662 failing grades, with 219 of those scholars having 1 or more failing grades. Our 11th grade class has a total of 226 failing grades for the first quarter, with 92 of those juniors having 1 or more failing grades. Our seniors have a total of 85 failing grades for the quarter, with 42 seniors holding 1 or more failing grades. Staffing is another area of concern for the high school. To date, we have the following vacancies. We have 5 mathematics teachers vacancies, 2 science teacher vacancies, 3 instructional coach vacancies, which are in the areas of math, science, and instructional technology. Those positions, however, will not be filled for the 21-22 school year. It is my belief that the instructional coach positions should not be filled this year due to the absence of teachers in our building. I simply cannot justify the hiring of a content leader when we have long-term substitutes serving in critical areas in the absence of available certified teachers. Due to the staffing shortages and the inability to obtain daily subs, our campuses are also faced with having teachers to cover classes. During planned periods, or even double up their own classes when a colleague is absent. To date, our high school teachers have subbed and covered 561 class periods for the first quarter. Our teachers have come together in ways that I could never have imagined, but I see it in their faces each day. We all see it. They are mentally and physically exhausted. In the essence of time, we can work through, and Principal Clark can go through and present her data for Central Middle School, and we'll also have Principal Lenoir to go through his data for Westview Middle School, and we'll come together and I will come back with discussion about some recommendations that we've come together with.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, district leaders, colleagues, and community. I am Rachel Clark. I am principal of Central Middle School. I'm presenting data for that is specific to the school. So 105 of our out-of-school suspensions to date have been due to physical altercations. For sixth grade, 44, seventh grade, 33, eighth grade, 28. Central Middle School fights comprise of 101 of the 348 suspensions district-wide. 218 events, 91 female scholars, 121 male scholars. Of those same events, 24 of them are students in transition, 41 sped. Event counts by grade: sixth grade 92, seventh grade 63, and eighth grade 63. Central Middle School suspension rate is 28% as of 10/25. Next slide, please. The vacancies at Central Middle School that have imposed a serious hardship on staffing and student relationships. We are missing 2 math teachers, 2 ELA teachers, 3 science teachers, 2 social studies teachers, and 7 elective teachers. We also do not have an in-school suspension teacher at this time. Each grade level team, we have 5 teachers attached to each team. However, we only have 1 team that actually has 5 teachers on the team. So what this means for our school building is if there are only 4 or 3 teachers, the 3 to 4 teachers have to split the other scholars that are on the team, creating situations where there may be 28 to 35 scholars in a period 5 times each day. Next, please. Looking at our physical altercations in comparison from 2019 to 2021, if you look at 2019 in September, we had 19 physical altercations as compared to 54 in this year so far, and then October 41 to 60 this far. Westview Middle School.
Greetings, Special Administrative Board, colleagues, district officials, and constituents. My name is Dominic Lenoir. I am the principal of Westview Middle School. And with our data, we have, as far as physical altercations, 76 out of school suspensions were due to physical altercations as of 10/25. That number actually will increase to over 80 because we had a few more today. 6th grade equals 34, 7th grade, there was 21, and 8th grade was also 21. As you notice, as Westview Middle School and Central Middle School, the 6th grade comprised of the majority of the fights in the middle school. Westview Middle School fights comprise of 76 out of the 348 suspensions, and that makes up for 22% of the district events. 76 total events, 41 female, 35 male, 2 student in transitions, and 11 special education students out of that 76. The event count by grade: 34, 7th, 21, and 8. Next slide, please. Westview Middle School has a total of 9 vacancies, 2 mathematic vacancies, 2 ELA vacancies, 3 science vacancies, 2 elective courses, and 1 ISS vacancy. Each grade level team should have 4 teachers attached and 24 teachers total. One team on the 8th grade floor has 2 out of 4 team members that are absent or vacant. And so we have been having teachers sub. We also have had administrators step in, counselors step in, and also any members of the team that are willing to take a course or a class to support and make sure that our students have supervision. Next slide, please. If you look at the 2019-20 school year compared to the 2021-22 school year, September of 2019, we had 33 out-of-school suspensions due to physical altercations. In October, we had 36. Also in 2021, we had in September, we had 26, and this October, we had 50, which that number has increased. And we'll turn it back over to Ms. Nave for the recommendations.
Thank you. As you can see, the first quarter has been challenging for our schools, to say the least. We are all committed to the work of restoring our campuses and getting back to the business of teaching and learning. Next steps, together we have comprised a few recommendations to support the needs of our district. Please know that the issues addressed this evening are not solely a secondary issue. This is a district-wide issue, and our recommendations include those that are needed for at the elementary level as well. Some of our recommendations include crisis counselors at all schools to address the severe behavioral issues on our campuses, walking counselors to manage hallway interactions and maintain decorum, dean of students to manage discipline issues, additional off-duty officers with an added SRO at the high school level, additional district safety officers on our campuses, even one at every elementary school. I also want to add, our district safety officers are put in very dangerous situations. They are there protecting the students, but also us. We need to also protect them when they are put in these situations and have to protect staff and students against some of the students with these behavioral challenges. We're making a recommendation that we have a social worker in every school with an additional one at the high school. This could just be a 3-year program or proposal where we can get that going in the buildings while we're managing these behaviors that have come as a result of the pandemic. We're recommending an evening success academy for those scholars who are not working well in the traditional learning environment. They can come after school and on Saturdays to get their academic components needed. We're asking for a COVID bonus stipend to retain existing staff and recruit staff in high needs areas. Other districts have done this for their staff, and we'd like to have that for ours as well. We are also recognizing that there are districts that are offering 1 day for a self-care day. I know one school district in particular decided that November 1st was going to be their self-care day for the district. We're recommending that instead of just 1 day, the district adds 3 to 5 mental health self-care days for all that can be used when that person, that district employee needs them. Next slide. We're also asking for tuition reimbursement for instructional assistants and long-term subs seeking a degree in education. We're trying to move forward with a Grow Your Own program, and I know that that's mostly targeted towards our students, but right now we are in a state of emergency needing staff. And so we have instructional assistants and long-term subs who are seeking their degree or working towards that, and we'd like to be able to get them some tuition reimbursement to help with that process and get them into our districts. I'd also like to ask for sub-pay for our instructional assistants covering classes in emergency situations. Our teachers currently get $25 per hour for classes, covering those classes. I'd like the same for our instructional assistants. They are paid the least, but they are still a vital part of our sub coverage needs each day. We're recommending a fall break for staff and students. We're also asking for mental health, trauma training for targeted students that we identify on our campuses. In addition, go ahead, next slide. We're asking for parent workshops for those needing support with managing their child's behavior and family trauma. When we call parents, a lot of times they're throwing up their hands as well and don't know what to do. I'd like to be able to provide them with some resources and care workshops that will help them as well to deal with their own issues at home. We would like to ask for digital textbook resources for all areas so that when students are out on quarantine or they're out for a long-term suspension, they still have access to the textbooks via their Chromebooks. We'd like to change the ISS position from a certified position to a non-certified position so that we can attract individuals that would be purposeful for that position. We'd also like to have ISS at all schools. Trying to find a certificated person for ISS is very hard, because if you have a certification, you want to be in that place that you're certified in. So I'd like to change that position. It is not a certified position in other districts, and I'd like to change that for us as well. We'd also like to have student workshops addressing self-love and conflict resolution, helping students to understand who they are and what they need to do to make sure that they are able to manage conflicts appropriately. We'd also like to have additional support staff to manage, assess, and process enrollment. As I stated in my data, within 1 week, we had 3 new students who were new to our campus who came to us and had weapons. We need to have additional support to comb through those enrollment packets, to look at the discipline that's provided, that's looking for those safe school violations that are coming into our campus, to also follow the homes to make sure that they are not utilizing the SIT program in vain. We would like to even talk about the possibility of transitioning to an A-day, B-day schedule with asynchronous learning, including social emotional learning component, which would reduce the numbers on campus each day. We would have half of the scholars coming on A days, half the scholars on B days, until we can reorganize and get our campuses back to where they need to be. We would also like to ask about volunteer mentoring and support. Many of you have seen on social media and the internet about the Dads on Duty. We'd love to have something like that within our schools. We do recognize, however, that we have some challenges and we aren't there yet. We've had a few situations where a parent has gone up to a bus. We've had a situation where parents come up to our schools being combative. And so we're not there yet, but we'd like to get there one day. We are also looking into a reset day filled with full activities to support student and staff wellness. These are just a few of the recommendations that we have for the Special Administrative Board and our district leaders to look into to support our staff and the morale and the campus environment for us. As you can see, the first quarter has been challenging for our schools. We are committed to this work of restoring our campuses. Next steps, the secondary leaders will devise a committee of individuals represented from the elementary levels and various roles throughout the district to continue this work of saving our schools, our scholars, and our staff. We thank you for this opportunity and for your unwavering support. We will take any questions or comments from you at this time.
Yes, I asked Ms. Nave over the weekend to prepare this work, and she and her colleagues have done an excellent job. One of the things I would like to see is for the secondary school principals or your committee to prioritize these. These are at the top. We need these badly. Then next and next. Also, when we're talking about additional social workers and counselors, are we talking about agencies who can provide that for us? Because we're in the middle of school contracts and we're not going to get anybody, I don't think, new. But if we can contract with agencies to do some of this, it would be helpful. So I guess what I'm asking, I'd like for you to send what you have developed to Shay, and she can send it to all board members. But I need some meat put on the bones, okay? So how do we do this? An excellent one was we now use certified staff for in-school suspension. When I was superintendent, we didn't have a certified staff. We had someone, what I call was a handler. Right, exactly, who knew how to control. One of the things I was taught as a beginning principal, seasoned principal said to me, Beckwith, you have to keep school before you can teach school. Said another way, you've got to have discipline before you can teach anybody anything. So I'm on board with this, but I want us to recognize also all staff members are recruiters for this district, okay? We have some people who badmouth our district, all right? You've got to be supportive and help people to come. I've asked my next door neighbor who, he's retired, but he works in the St. Louis Public Schools. And I asked him, find us some folks who can come into the high school, who are retired from the St. Louis Public Schools. They can come to us. They're in a different pension fund and they can work without their pay being reduced. So bottom line, good report. Would ask you to send it to Shay so she can share it with the board and prioritize those requests. One thing I think is very doable for the second semester, A day, B day, okay? To me, that's doable, but it has to be planned now, okay? We continue with the first semester. Second semester starts in January. Is that the way it is? Right. That's a very doable recommendation. And I thank the committee for bringing the recommendations to us.
Thank you.
Hello,
Thank you,
Dr.
Dr. Beckwith.
Nave.
Not yet, Miss Nave, yes. Thank you.
With the student committees, I didn't hear a lot about ways to get the students involved to have some leadership on some of the decisions within the school and to problem solve around what's happening, because I think they know the inside scoop on the issues that's happening. I think it's mostly social media driven, and now they're in person, and so they know that the people can't hide behind the social media, and now they want to engage negatively. So if you can incorporate in your plan, I will recommend some type of opportunity for student engagement and input. In addition to that, I had a question for Mrs. Williams around staffing. I wanted to know whether or not the district issues temporary certification to staff at this time.
Yes, we do. We offer temporary certifications in critical need areas. So typically it has been in math and science. So yes, we do.
So since all of them are critical need now, are we advertising it as such to expand the temporary certification for other subject areas?
We have not advertised it. However, we do have a couple other people in the pipeline. For example, we have one person at Central Middle who we're getting certification for so that she can teach social studies, African American studies. So we are working with a few applicants, but we haven't advertised that.
Okay. Ms. Nave, currently, are there opportunities for like some type of academic credit recovery program outside of ACE? Do you have a way for students to be on virtual instruction outside of it being facilitated by teachers?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I still have to follow, CNI's guidelines, but we do have our extended learning opportunity where we offer credit recovery after school for our scholars. We have a total of 20 teachers who have about a caseload of 10 students each who are helping them through credit recovery process. So yes.
So
ma'am.
they're
we also
teaching
have,
them?
they have a platform, Edgenuity, but yes,
Okay.
they are, but it's between both of them. Yes, ma'am.
Well, they say Edgenuity is kind of challenging for kids.
It
How
is,
they're
and that's,
doing it.
and that's why we have the teachers working hands-on with them, and they also have the ability to reduce the rate or the mastery rate level that they need, especially if they have any challenges or if they have any disabilities.
Okay, last recommendation is to consider distance learning and collaborating with other school districts that have qualified teachers to teach. And so it will require the IT department to try to coordinate that and have distance learning where if the sub is in the class, the certified person from another district can facilitate the instruction.
Thank you.
And Kansas City will be a good reference for that type of platform. Kansas City, Missouri School District. No further.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Jones.
Two quick questions. Dr. Nave, I noticed on the the report, 15 verbal altercations. Was that student on student or student on staff?
That was student on student. All of these were student on student.
Okay, student on student. Last question I have. I noticed on each school, Westview, Central, and the high school, most of the suspensions are taking place in the youngest grade at that school. Is there any discussion around that, why that is?
Yes, I've kind of talked over even with my staff. You think about it, let's say our 9th graders, the last full complete year that they had was 6th grade. Then they had a fraction of a year, 7th grade. So if you look at that, we didn't get that natural progression of them going to school in a traditional sense. So their last full year was just their first year of middle school. And so now here we are on a high school campus, and now we're supposed to act like high schoolers. And that's, you know, that's just simply not the case. I know that's the same for the middle school and even for those students at the elementary level. You think about a 2nd grader, well, were they really in kindergarten, you know, at the school level? So those are some of the challenges that we are seeing. It's just emotional. What is it? I want to say this, just emotional immaturity. And social media does not help.
Ms. Nave, one of the questions that I wanted to ask, and I'm going back. I didn't see. I saw where you all made suggestions for helping parents with problem students, but what are you trying to do to engage more parents to maybe assist and help out, volunteer and what have you, at all the levels? When I can recall when my daughter was at Riverview, she left her ID at home. And the policies and procedures that they had at that time, I had to come up there. They may seem minimal, but I had to come up there so that I could understand as a parent what my child needed to do. And I know that there are a lot of parents, if they have to take off their job to come and address the issue with discipline and what have you, usually that kind of has a turning point in how their students are acting. So I guess with these situations that you all are addressing, what are some of the ways that you've contacted or done? What are some of the things that you've done regarding the parents of these students?
If I might, so some of the things I've discussed with our parents, because the parents are truly concerned as well. Mm-hmm. So some of the things that we've discussed is how they can, or what services they can lend to our student body, to the other parents in the community or in our school, but also the parents that are truly concerned about some of the violent acts and, of course, many of the things that are resulting as social media has plagued our scholars. So we've done a few surveys to just kind of gauge where they can lend any assistance in our building, whether it's morning, afternoon, after school, helping parents with job searches or whatever. So we're just kind of polling and taking surveys of our parents to see where we can get their help.
Okay, because one of the things that they also had back then was they had where the district, when students got into altercations, no matter what type they were, the parents were brought in and the school district served as a mediator. The students had to explain what happened and why they took the actions that they had. And the parents, with the school district personnel being there, they had to work out a resolution for how they were going to help their students. When did we stop doing that?
Maureen, I would like to say that we actually still do that. We had a mediation with some parents just yesterday, and that's something we continue to do. A lot of times, though, some parents are not willing to come in, but we do require parents to come in to sit down with the administrator, and we talk about plans for that scholar, how to support them. A lot of times we include the counselor and our building social worker. And what we do as administrative, when we have the abilities, we meet as an entire team with that parent, with that student. So not only does that administrator know the student, the other administrator knows it, and the homeschool coordinator, and we all sit down and figure out what's the plans for that scholar. But as you are aware, lately it's just the disciplines have been growing and growing. So we're bringing parents in, but a lot of times we're dealing with the situation just occurred.
Okay, and is there a social worker involved in that as well?
Yes, we do
Okay.
include our social worker. One problem though, and that's something that we recommended, is that we have a social worker every day. It seems like that my social worker is always over at Central when I really need her. And Rachel probably the same thing.
Okay. I would like for you all to send, like Dr. Becker said, what's most important, but I would still like to get a copy of the presentation that you all just did. I think that that's important that we have that, and I'm going to try to do my best to talk to parents about it. This is disheartening, but it's not. I believe that we can do something to resolve it. So thank you all for their report.
Thank you for your support.
We're going to go now to item B, the items for discussion. And the first item is A, candidate filing cooperation agreement.
Good evening, SAB, colleagues, constituents. I'm presenting today for discussion a recommendation to enter into a cooperation agreement with the Board of Elections for our future Board of Election candidate filings. This arrangement will allow the district to provide consistent office hours during the filing period, eliminate any confusion with regard to ballot placement, and also to prevent the failure of posting the statutory required notice. And as the authorized official for the district, as Mr. Jones stated earlier, the last election that was held with regard to the school district was in 2010. And I remember then some of the challenges that I faced. And I think that this arrangement would be great for the district. This is a voluntary arrangement. It is not mandatory. But as the authorized official, I can see how this would be beneficial when we do have future board candidate elections. Are there any questions?
You don't have any questions? Thank you, Shay. We don't have any questions. Next would be the policy recommendations.
Good evening, Special Administrative Board, colleagues, and community. Tonight, I will be presenting policy recommendations for discussion. And I will provide a very brief summary of the policies. The first one is policy AC, which is a prohibition against illegal discrimination, harassment, and retaliation. And basically, Title IX requirements under policy ACA have been added to this policy. And we know that policy ACA addresses sexual harassment and how to report sexual harassment, and also the information on the process. So it directs anyone who has a sexual harassment issue to see policy ACA for guidance. Also, policy AH, use of tobacco and vaping products. And with this policy, we're adding vaping products to our current policy of tobacco products that are prohibited on district property and also at district activities. Next, we have policy BCB, board officers, and this policy deals with the process of handling board vacancies and also the reorganization of the board when officers have to be reelected, and then also authorizing signatures to be affixed by facsimile and also electronically in accordance with the policy DGA for authorized signatures. We also have policy DK, which is the payment process. And this policy authorizes electronic payments as a form that's accepted as a signature as a payment. However, the same protocols for payments is followed. The next one is policy EBBA, illness and injury response and prevention. And with this policy, it deals with staff being able to perform or give medication or medical services if they are qualified, and also training staff and students in CPR. So some kind of training program will need to be developed. The next one is policy EB, AB, which is hazardous materials. And this policy deals with testing water, potable water for lead for any buildings that were constructed before 1996 that service students first grade, pre-K, and kindergarten. It's not mandatory at this time that we test for lead in the water. And if we find that the results exceed the recommended standards, then parents and guardians must be notified and the Missouri Department of Health and Senior Services. Currently, there are no state funds available. However, there are federal grants available. The next one is policy ECG, which is animals on district property, which are prohibited unless it is a service dog, a qualified service dog that an employee would need for mental health or medical conditions. It is a misdemeanor. Class C misdemeanor or Class B misdemeanor if this is violated where an employee has misrepresented a service dog. The last one is policy IGBCA, programs for homeless students. And this one deals with the term unaccompanied youth being revised in the statute, in the policy, and also the dispute resolution process. So in the event that there is a dispute resolution process going on, an unaccompanied minor still would have to be enrolled in the school of their choice. Are there any questions regarding the policy recommendations? Motion to approve the policy recommendation below as submitted.
Does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Yes, one of my questions is related to medical marijuana. How is that being addressed?
Okay, I would need to check the policy on medical marijuana because I want to make sure I give it to you correctly. But however, with that, it would be the same as any policy we have regarding alcohol or anything else. No employees are allowed to come to work under the influence or to use or sell any drugs on district property. But I would like to give you the particulars, but that's the brief overview of the policy.
Okay. My other question, I'm not sure who to direct it to, but I just pulled up the board officers, and I noticed concerning the president, vice president positions, it indicated until replacements or the board members are no longer in their positions, and I think that traditionally is annually. So I just want to know why we were adopting. It's a bad acronym. I'm sorry. It's annoying my ears. Why we were adopting this particular policy.
Shay, are you able to speak to that? Shay is the committee member that worked on this policy.
Okay. Yes, this policy recommendation was submitted by MSBA, and it was recently submitted in our 2021 C update. And so if there is a concern specifically that you would like to address, we can make whatever the adjustment is, but the policy is being recommended.
Okay. I was just curious about that based on the other school districts that have annual election of officers.
And maybe I didn't understand your question.
I was looking at where it says the president, vice president will serve until they are no longer board members or until their replacements are elected. So that's just, if they don't get a replacement, then they continue to serve. I wasn't clear on what they were saying. Is there someone that can further explain? I think he is.
Dr. Avant, Elliott, the special administrative board officer thing is different. As I read the proclamations passed on October 19th by the state board, it said that for provisionally accredited districts and unaccredited districts, there shall be elections every July, by July 15. So what that one really may apply to other districts, but it doesn't apply to us. The proclamation passed on October 19th listed the month of July when officers must be reelected.
Okay, so I may just be reading it wrong. I was just trying to get clarification.
No, and no, I'm not saying you're reading it wrong. I'm saying that our qualification as a SAB is different from the regular school district.
Okay.
But specifically, Dr. Beckwith, the sentence, as you read it, it says the president and vice president will serve until they are no longer board members or until their replacements are elected. If there's a specific issue with the language, the way that it's presented, then what we can do is modify it and send it to MSBA, and then they'll have their legal counsel to look at it.
Okay. But be careful at the same time that the state board set the regulations for our special administrative board.
Understood.
That's in question. Can we withdraw that particular policy?
Can we change it?
No, that I think we can do. Okay. What else? There. And just let me know.
Okay.
So the policy has already been adopted by the SAB on 8/11/2015. The language in red is being added. So if the language is not appropriate, then it can be stricken.
Okay. I would like to make a I don't know if it needs to be a motion, but I move that we add to this policy specific dates for election as identified by the State Board of Education.
Understood. Thank you.
Okay. So then it would need to be.
So I would need a second.
Second.
Okay.
Ready for the question?
Ready for the question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Those opposed? Like it's wrong, the opposers. Okay. So we make those recommendations. Say thank you.
You're welcome.
Item C is 21-22 staffing plan adjustments.
Yes, I will be presenting information tonight for discussion for the 21-22 staffing plan adjustment. Currently, I'm recommending tonight discussion on 4 new positions. The first one is math curriculum coordinator and also a science curriculum coordinator to support the curriculum department. And then also 2 technology positions. One is instructional technology coach to collaborate with teachers and facilitate, support the use of technology, and then technology site resource specialists to assist with maintenance and inventory and troubleshooting technology. The budget impact for 2 curriculum coordinators, 1 science and 1 math, is approximately $85,000 each, $65,000 for salary and $20,000 for benefits. The amount is $170,000. The budget source is the GOB. And for the technology department, 1 instructional technology coordinator at $78,550. That includes salary and benefits, and 1 technology sites resource specialist at $54,200, and that includes salary and benefits. The dollar amount is $132,750, and that will be grant funded out of Title IV. It is recommended that the Special Administrative Board approve the adjustments to the 2021-2022 staffing plan. Are there any questions?
Any questions? Okay. So Dr. Minton, go first.
I would like to make a point of order, Madam Chair. We didn't get a chance to vote on the other policy recommendations.
These are, I was going to say, these are presented for discussion right now.
Right.
Okay,
right.
so you asked about that before. Okay, I just want to make
Sure.
sure. Okay.
And that's your only question, Dr. Beck?
Okay. I think you heard the secondary principals say how many vacant classrooms they are. I asked for a report yesterday on the number of positions in our schools needing subs but don't have them. there are 63 in all. 19 are at Central Middle. 8 are at Riverview Garden High School, and 11 are at Westview. In addition, there are 38 subs in our buildings and 25 that we can't get. I think Ms. Nave made a point. She said she wasn't going to fill a role for instructional methods coach because that person will be out of the classroom. I think these recommendations are good for math and science coordinator, but 3 of these 4 positions will pull somebody out of the classroom, and that creates 3 more vacancies. There is 1 technology assistant or something like that is non-certificated. So that's no problem. You can advertise and get something. But I am totally opposed to approving these positions when we don't have enough people in the classroom. They are doubling up. Teachers are teaching on their planning period, and nobody's going to break a contract in the middle of the year with another school district to come here, okay? They've signed that contract. So although this is a good idea, this is not the time to pull additional people out of our classrooms to have them as consultants and then have another sub in place of them.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else?
If Dr. Larry or Ms. Ross or Dr. Nichols want to speak in rebuttal, I would hear that.
Okay.
Dr. Nichols, you're on mute. I think she's speaking. You're on mute.
I'm sorry. Good evening, Special Administrative Board, colleagues, and school community. When we engaged in dialogue regarding all 4 of these positions, we did consider that, Dr. Beckwith, that concern. So as we concluded with the dialogue, the conversation was around hopefully that retired teachers or someone that was retired would apply for the position, and or someone that was transitioning between jobs that would be interested in the position. That was our conversation around it, but your point is well taken that you just made. And Ms. Ross and Dr. Larry, do you want to add any additional information?
I was just going to add that I concur with you that we are definitely considering retirees, people who are not in the Riverview Gardens School District. We're considering all various options.
And I have no problem with that, as long as we aren't pulling teachers out of our classrooms.
Right, and good evening, Special Administrative Board, school community. I just want to add that although that may be true, we have to take into consideration the gap that currently exists because instruction is not taking place. And the reason why that's critical is because if we don't act, we already had Principal Nave already shared about the emergency, the critical positions, our math and our science. If we think about where we currently are and how we're currently using our certified staff, the gap is going to increase. And so being that we're out to make data-driven decisions, the state is not going to take into consideration what Riverview is going through in terms of staffing. This is a critical positions that our students need and that our teachers need to improve instruction. There are some links, and I'm not saying that what has currently been reported are linked to instruction. I am saying that when you have excellent instruction that goes forth no matter what the situation is. Discipline changes. When you have experts before our students, and they deserve it, when our staff are involved in critical professional development geared to their content areas, such as critical as math and science, and not to mention how math and science, improving in those areas, also help support the connection between ELA as it's being its foundation. When those areas come up, ELA also benefits. Why is this critical? Why should we just not let this just go past?
Let me interrupt you for a moment.
Mm-hmm.
I said in the beginning, I don't doubt these positions are needed, but find a principal who says, yes, you can take one of my best teachers to be one of your consultants. I bet you can't find one. So I'm not debating the criticalness of, we are in an emergency situation.
Absolutely.
Okay. And it's like in the World Series and benching your best player, selling your best player. That doesn't work.
I totally agree with you, Dr. Beckwith, but who's on the bench right now? We are here to serve our students.
Okay.
Our students are our number one priority, and I'm sorry if I sound combative, but if we don't help, if we don't draw attention to the gap that currently exists because of COVID, because of the community that we serve, because of the issues of our students, we're going to get further. That gap is going to increase. And right now, Dr. Beckwith,
you're preaching to the choir. You're preaching to the choir that I understand what you're saying, but find a principal in our district who is willing to give up one of his best teachers to a math and science consultant. I understand if you get somebody from outside the district, but not in the district. Find one.
And again, Ms. Ross, this is an item for discussion. That's Dr. Beckwith. He's given his opinion, but allow the other board members to look into it, and they may have some additional questions as they look further into this, based on all concerns. As far as this is concerned, this is just an item for discussion. Okay, it hasn't been voted on yet. Just wanted to, throw that out there because I can see that you were getting a little concerned, and we do understand your position in all of this.
Understood. Sorry.
Madam President. Oh, I have further questions. Right now, do you all have department heads that's supporting teachers in their various departments as leads? Or are they getting periods off to do that? I'm just trying to get some information about the instructional support at this point, and are the principals stepping in to do the instructional coach activities given the gap in that? Like, what is the structure?
Were you asking Ms. Ross? I know
Whoever can answer. I know that you mentioned, Ms. Nave, not filling the instructional coach position. Do you have leadership that's stepping in to do that, or their department heads for the different content areas to support their peers? And are they getting periods off? That's what I was trying to understand.
Yes, ma'am. I have a department chair in each of the areas, the critical areas, and they have a period off to support the teachers who are in the long-term sub positions, specifically naming math and science. They have periods off to support those teachers.
Okay, so for the consultants, what is it that the role? Could you just re-explain that? I'm not sure if I understood. You want the consultants to do what?
Ms. Ross, do you want to share with her how we were talking about utilizing them with the curriculum writing and other aspects?
Sure. I want to emphasize that these are district level positions. The instructional coaches that were referred to that are vacant are building level positions. So we're talking about positions that will impact the whole district. The department chairs are building level positions. They only exist at the secondary level, and they are controlled or managed, if you will, by principals. The positions that we're bringing to you tonight are district level positions to take into consideration how it impacts all of the district.
Okay, so they'll be like curriculum coaches for the district, but you just call them consultants. That's what I was
Curriculum coordinators. Currently,
curriculum coordinators. Okay.
yes, currently, Dr. Von Elliott, I serve as the curriculum coordinator.
Okay.
In my role, I have the responsibility of overseeing all major subject areas, the core areas, in addition to elective courses. It's just me. So without a shared responsibility from other content coordinators, if you will, extremely stretched thin. We can't really reach our goals when it's my responsibility, along with people that we bring in, our instructional coaches, our curriculum committee. But ultimately, I am the person who manages the curriculum for the district. So adding a math and science curriculum coordinator will have the expertise in those areas to serve our teachers and our students district-wide.
Okay. Can I recommend that you consider some alternative ways to utilize the teachers while they still serve at the building level? Can you consider a plan around that? So then maybe that will relieve you of some responsibilities and they are able to get paid a certain way, or have they schedule kind of open in a way that they can support you. Just some alternative ways so that there's no opposition when it comes before the board for approval. So I'm just recommending some.
So you're making a suggestion that she maybe come up with some options that she can share? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, some additional options in how you can be supported along with what you propose.
And not that this is not a discussion, warranted discussion, but I'm being cognizant of the time. I would like to move on to the next subject, and if further information is needed on this, and you can go through shaded request information, board members. So the next item would be, is this the register? I'm sorry, D, right? A registrar, secretary, 2 and 3 training.
Good evening, SAB colleagues and visitors. This information, or this item, is, I want to give you some background information. At the beginning of this school year, 2021-2022, Central Middle School has 3 new employees serving in critical support areas. One is a registrar, one is a secretary 3, and one is a secretary 2. These employees are responsible for acquiring and keeping critical student records for registration, attendance, and other records pertaining to state and federal compliance. This request is for hiring a retired employee, Ms. Barbara Ebel, as a consultant for other professional and technical services. The justification for this item is these 3 staff require training in order to perform the work-specific tasks that are related directly to their roles. While Central has just 1 registrar, there are 2 secretaries responsible for other detail-oriented record keeping. Additionally, it is critically important for consistency and continuity, as well as work quality, for staff to be cross-trained to be certain there is never a break in service. Mrs. Ebel kept impeccably detailed records, assuring the school was in compliance. As a result, there were no audit findings when she worked at Central Middle School. Additionally, she has institutional knowledge of the district and the school. This request is directly related to our CSIP goal, and it is also a request that will put us en route to several other CSIP goals related to accurate record keeping, including registration and attendance. The goal that is referred to is Goal 3 in regard to assuring that students are attending school 90% of the time, and that we will increase as measured in MSIP Standard 4. So we want to start and to get us en route to increasing attendance. The 3 people that I just mentioned use SIS-K Impulse for attendance reports to monitor daily attendance and identify students below 90%. Schools acquire accurate registration data in order to make sure that our data and records at enrollment and during course assignment and monitoring of attendance. Our action step is to secure services to train record-keeping personnel, including the registrar, secretary 2, and secretary 3. There is a budget impact, and initially there was not funding in the school leadership and accountability budget to cover this expense. As a result, I've requested a budget supplement and submitted that to our CFO, Dr. Singleton. The dollar amount is $3,000. So my recommendation is to approve Mrs. Ebel to provide training services to the registrar, secretary 3, and secretary 2 at Central Middle School in the amount not to exceed $3,000. This is an item for action and consent.
Any questions?
Is this an action item?
That's what I was.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it is. It's on here.
That's it, yes. Mhm.
Okay, Dr.
Yep.
Vance.
Okay. I wanted to know, with the $3,000, is there a total amount of days the person is required to come in? What is the evaluation of the training that the individuals receive? I'm just curious about that. So you say 3,000, but how will the person work in order to get the 3,000?
The person will go directly to Central Middle School and work directly with the registrar, the secretary 2, and the secretary 3, and teach them how to use the reporting systems. That person will be monitored by the principal as well as me to assure that the training that is taking place is effective. We'll know that by being able to monitor and audit the record keeping that's occurring. And in response to your question about when will she come in and that sort of thing, what we'll need to do is determine the best times for the site to have the individual come in. So the $3,000 is basically 100 hours at the rate of $30 an hour, which is the rate for a consultant of this kind.
Okay. And so does she have a contract as well? A consultant contract?
She is a retired employee. I am not aware. I'm wondering, Ms. Williams, is a contract required, or Dr. Singleton? Can you speak to that?
Sure,
Yes.
sure. So I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Mary.
Dr. Singleton.
Okay. So all of our consultants are required to have some kind of professional services contract. And so we will draw something up, a contract that we have similar with some of our other consultants. And all of the terms will be spelled out, as Ms. Austin mentioned, that not to exceed 100 hours at the $30 an hour. So yes, we will have a contractual agreement with her.
Okay, I thought she was seeking approval tonight.
No, I think these are all discussion items. They go for approval at the next board meeting.
No,
Oh,
she's seeking approval.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, okay.
But the contract can be, we can approve it and the contract can be developed for the sign.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Okay, any
Thank
additional
you.
questions? And then move on, okay. Okay, professional services agreement, LDR, Administrative Services LLC.
Yes, I think that's on there for me. We had an existing contract with LDR to investigate a grievance. And they have not finished their work because a second grievance was filed, and they are asking for additional time to thoroughly review the second agreement, if it is a second agreement, or whether it's just a part of the first agreement.
Thank you. And that's down here to be voted on as an action item as well.
Correct.
Thank you.
Correct.
Okay, we'll move on. SSD Partnership Agreement for 2021-2022.
Good evening, SAB members, community, and colleagues, and welcome to Mayor Jones and Dr. Avant Elliott. Tonight, Dr. Lent and I will be presenting the partnership agreement with the special school district. Dr. Lent has created a PowerPoint that he'd like to present that's attached to the board document. And I will let Dr. Lent take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Special Administrative Board and school community. I'm going to be presenting the Educational Partnership Agreement. If you want to go ahead and move on to the next slide. So the Educational Partnership Agreement was originally adopted in 2005. It's been around for several years. Essentially, it's an agreement between a special school district and the partner districts. And it's really just to guide our collaboration, our work together. It gives us multiple areas to look at and then additional action steps that we can move forward with. There was some feedback from some stakeholders, including partner district staff, parents, board members, that the partnership agreement that was in place really needed probably some revisions. So a committee was formed, which included 42 members. We had partner district representatives, we had special school district representatives, including Dr. Patton and myself. And they created a survey, we collected data on that, and then basically a subcommittees were put together to look at specifically the different action items. If we want to move forward. So the subcommittees worked on each of those areas. We reviewed survey feedback. We met four times this summer. And the proposed educational plan, a partnership agreement, went from 10 different items down to 7. You can kind of see how they were grouped together. A lot of the items were duplications, and so some things got moved around, and so just a little bit more organized and a little bit more focused on what we need to do. But really, it stays right there at the heart of the Educational Partnership Agreement. It's really just we're going to work together to do what's best for kids in an integrated and seamless manner. Next slide. Yep. And so what's going to happen is every year there's going to be a pre and post, essentially, a fall and spring. Dr. Patton and I will sit down and we'll go through the partnership agreement. We will rate ourselves as to where we are with implementation. If there are items that we need to implement better, we're going to create action steps. And so that we have a clear path as to what we can do to actually increase the collaboration that we have. And so just some acknowledgements, basically that SSD and Riverview Gardens would agree that our vision, mission, and belief statements outlined in the partnership agreement, that we endorse those, that we have shared responsibility providing equitable services for all students, and then we would agree that we would use that educational partnership agreement to really guide our collaborative efforts to work to support children. And then just basically we're going to commit to working cooperatively to implement the educational partnership agreement. And so what we're asking for is that that the Special Administrative Board would sign off that they agree that that the partnership agreement is a worthwhile document, and that we would use it moving forward to increase our collaboration and do what's right for kids. I think that's any questions for that.
Any questions for Dr. Lynn? Thank you. We'll move on. Item G is smart/best taxi cab service.
Good afternoon again, SAB community and colleagues. I bring before you an agreement with Best Taxi Cab Services. As you know, we are struggling to provide transportation for our students in transition. That number is increasing daily with the enrollment of student in transition. I think currently we are at 389. As you know, there is a shortage of bus drivers, cab drivers, any kind of driver, any kind of service industry really across the board. And so we want to partner with Smart Best Taxi Cab Service to help provide transportation to our students who are in transition. They are ready to start. As a matter of fact, he emailed me this morning, said we have drivers ready to start. So I am putting before you an agreement with Best Smart Taxi Cab Services. The budget, it is a budgeted amount. It is not to exceed $200,000. It is recommended that the SAB approve the agreement with Smart Best Taxi Cab Services to provide transportation for our students who are in transition. Are there any questions?
Just a comment. Dr. Patton, explain to our new board members what we're talking about when we say students in transition.
Okay, absolutely. We have a population of homeless students who some live in our district, others live in other districts. When they lived in our district and they became homeless and they have to move to a different area, let's say for instance Hazelwood, but they want to continue being educated in the Riverview Gardens School District, we have a responsibility to provide transportation for them. So we have students who originally registered within Riverview Gardens School District who have moved to other districts because they became homeless, but they want to continue. And we have a responsibility to provide the transportation services. We do that with EMT services, cab services. We have bus passes. We even have an agreement to reimburse parents if they can provide transportation for those students. Are there any other questions?
Thank you. Thank you,
You're
Dr.
welcome.
Pat.
Mhm.
Item H, Community Partnership, ARCH MOU.
So the Children's Service Tax Fund that became a quarter-cent tax increase from 2008, it funds mental health counseling, evaluation, case management, mentoring, substance abuse, treatment, and other preventive services to be accessible to students who are at risk. We are partnering with ARCH's Kid Visions for Life services to provide free vision screenings and exam, free glasses to students who are in need, and provides orientation to school nurses about vision programs. These services will be provided to students who are in pre-K through 12th grade and are free 99, free for us. And so it is recommended that the SAB approve the MOU with ARCH's to provide vision care for the students within the Riverview Gardens School District. Are there any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Pat.
I reiterated free, Ms. Morrow,
Yes.
because I know everybody likes that.
You know I love free.
Everybody likes free. So,
Yes.
okay.
And the final item in this category, additional district safety officers.
Very good. I am also presenting this, Ms. Morrow. Ms. Nave and as well as both middle school principals presented the challenges. They brought forth the suspension rate and what's happening on our campuses. I am proposing that we have budgets for an armed security working on call within our school district. We have been unable to recruit people into that position. What I'm asking the SAB is if we can move $150,000 from the armed security budget, put that into the district safety officer salary line item in order to hire 5 additional district safety officers. I do want to make it clear that I am not of the belief that this issue that we're having with security on our campuses is just a security issue. It is not. It is a student support issue. It is a mental health issue. And I want to let everyone know that we are working very hard. Our district interventionist, Deirdre Liddell, and I are working very hard to combine extra security with mental health support, with trauma-informed practices, with restorative practices. This is not just a policing issue. It is a student support issue. But I'd like to begin that by hiring additional district safety officers to help support our campuses. Are there any questions?
Dr. Becker.
Yes, Dr. Patton, how will those additional security officers be located? Are they all in the high school or secondary? Tell me about that.
They will be located, a few will be located at our high school, but our high school is pretty well covered if everybody is there, if they're not on quarantine. Our high school is very well covered. We will add a couple there, but more at the middle school and then more to patrol our elementary schools. We already have our school resource officers that patrol our elementary schools, but we'd like to have DSOs moving in and out of those schools to help support security at that level as well.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Patton.
Thank you.
We're now at item 9, approval of consent agenda. Can I request a motion to approve the items for consent?
So move.
May I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I need to vote on that, Shay. I can just say all in favor. Thank you. Okay. The next items are the items for action. Can I have a request for a motion to approve those items for action?
Yes, with the first one, the Register Secretary 2 and 3 training, I move approval.
I get a, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers?
For professional
You
services
pose.
agreement, LDR, administrative services, I recommend approval.
Wait a minute, we had a pose on the first one. You opposing the registrar?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
have a preference for them to have a contract.
Okay, all right. So noted. Professional service agreement, LDR.
I make the motion.
Is there a second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers? I'll still say for any opposers. Okay. And C, additional district safety officers. May I have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved in second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposers? That brings us to adjournment. May I have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Again. Third.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
The meeting is adjourned.